This podcast is a production of Unfiltered Studios. If you would like to know more about joining Unfiltered Studios, please visit our website at unfpod.com for more information.
Okay, welcome all. We are here for another exclusive chat. Anyone who knows me, alone, who listens to enough of the podcast knows that I am all to just have a good time, and I can appreciate movies that have they seriously show their budget and make use of their gimmick and their plot line, and they love to just bring life to their fictional world that they're building, and I'm all for it. And one of those is none other than Hellraiser sequel writer Peter Atkins' material on the original Wishmaster and its first sequel. So yes, I realize he didn't work on the sequel, but he created the character that was in a pretty decent follow-up sequel. But that being said, for the longest time, I would always see that he had a book called The Wishmaster and Other Stories. So I finally decided this year, hey, much like I'm checking out any comic books, spin-offs of popular movies, shows, and even video games, I'm going to check out these books, see what they have to do. And so long story short, this very first book was published in 1999. It is basically Peter Atkins putting together a compilation of his various short stories, which were published in books like Horror 365 Scary Stories in the late 90s, as well as Fear Free and Demons and Deviants. Short stories include Adventures in Further Education, Here Comes a Candle, Aviatrix, If Thine Eyes Offends Thee, and For Your Immediate Attention, and Dr. Arcadia. Some of these characters cross over into each other's stories. They're not the most intriguing, but they're definitely going to appeal to hardcore horror collectors. And for those who also, again, want to get a hold of the hard-to-find script for the movie, you got that as well. So there's a lot of stuff to tie it in here. You can find it online at archive.org. Give it a rent, price-free. Totally recommend you go that way, because this is a giant collector's item. There is no way to find it for under, the lowest you're going to find is probably $60 plus shipping. There's plenty of people who are skyrocketing, putting it up in the triple digits to where it's just ridiculous. And we're talking high. And no one's going to pay $200 to $400 in this day and age unless they're a collector of everything. And it was an okay read. It just wasn't the best. But again, I'm a fair guy, and I always base it on, hey, anything can be built upon. And being a fan of Atkins and other podcasts he's been featured on, I definitely think this is an interesting intro, as well as just follow-up for those who are already a fan of his work on the Hellraiser movies. Definitely give these a read. Even if you're not into Wishmaster, you'll definitely find it interesting, and some of the changes and different lingo in the script is different for that portion, but it's a decent read in all things considered. It's not something I highly recommend you must get, but it's a decent 3 out of 5 for what we're talking about here for genre fans and enthusiasts. So then that brings us to, again, another thing, and this was even spelled out quite a lot back in the day. There was not a Wishmaster novelization right away. Every other thing had it. And so Christian Francis decided to adapt it 2 years ago, believe it or not. Well, going on, 2 years. And you can find it at most bookstores. There's no book preview, but again, this is very interesting how author Christian Francis, apparently he claims it was independently published, but I could have sworn it was big deal. But yeah, so they took Atkins' script and based a lot of that material into a proper novelization, and he does pretty good, all things considered, for such a older movie. Apparently, Mr. Francis has done various novelizations of both comics and movie screenplays, including one of the movie Titanfine as well as Vamp. So he's all kind of about just the cult kind of nature of it. But it's interesting just seeing someone evolve that way, and actually, novelizations are always going to be a thing because they can add extra juice, extra spice, extra everything to plot holes or material that's cut down for a film. And this is definitely, out of either books, this is the more powerful one. I gave them both passing grades, but this is definitely, I'm going to give it a 4. I'm not crazy about every novelization and everything that's built upon, but like, all things considered, like, this guy made good use of what was going on in Tammy's character, Alexandra, and helping flesh out the Jinn a little more and why he, is a body snatcher almost, and he's just going around impersonating people for his own gain. Most notably, out of all these, the book even does a interesting 180 on the iconic scene where the Jinn shows that he can't be killed, he's immortal and all that, and they even illustrate it all differently and change up some of the dialogue and a different take on the whole, but that still hurt like hell when he's taking out a gun and showing how he can blow his brains out to no effect. And they do a good job of explaining some of the other awkward and socially unacceptable scientists and other college personnel who are, off color, but it does a good job of restating how Alexandra wants to stop the inevitable from happening. Apparently, Christian Francis also did adaptations of The Descent, a few other movies. He's done some original work as well, and so all I can say is he was definitely the right guy to go after this. It's just rare to see someone give a proper movie novelization, just scanning in the script. So yeah, if you don't want to read the script, definitely still check out the novelization. If you just want to see some easy reading, horror fantasy junkies will definitely eat it up and have fun. I still gotta applaud him for wanting to get that deep on a movie that, despite being pretty well known, isn't always acknowledged in every community. So yeah, really cool that they decided, hey, let's open it up and let's detail it a bit more. So 1000% recommended for Jinn fans.
We'll return after these messages.
If you like small-town mystery, crazy news, and wild history, then the Florida Men on Florida Man podcast is for you. Each week, Josh Mills and Wayne McCarty bring you the absolute best Florida has to offer. So if you're looking for a show that's safe for the family, but funny enough to help you escape everyday life, then listen to the Florida Men on Florida Man podcast. That's Florida Men, plural, on Florida Man podcast.
Hey, it's Brent Pope, the host of Breakfast with Brent Pope. You've seen me on some of your favorite TV shows saying things like, "Give it up, Jimmy. You got to sink this putt to win." On Breakfast with Brent Pope, I sit down with guests from the entertainment world, and we do it all over breakfast. Or should I say Brentfast? Every week on Brentfast, you get inside Hollywood info and tips, great breakfast recs and foodie debates. Most of all, you get the most delightful 30 minutes of your week. So dig in. It's Brentfast time. Listen at Brentfast.com, Apple Podcasts, or wherever fine podcasts are found.
The Jacked Up Review Show podcast is honored to be part of the Blind Knowledge Podcast Network. Join anytime, talk the talk, and enjoy yourselves. There's something enlightening for everyone with this crowd of cool cats. Check them out.
Follow us on the web on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. The podcast is available on Podbean, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Anchor, Apple, and anywhere else podcasts are available. Feel free to review our show and leave comments on any of those sites. Thanks a million for listening. It's a jacked up